We are today have the pleasure of interviewing Coach Mike London, the head coach for the Howard football team. Mike, I know I already said your name, but tell us a little bit about your name and your school, and did you play for Bethel? And
Sure. My dad was Air Force. We were in the Air Force, and he was in Hawaii, and his last assignment was here in Hampton, Virginia. So we moved to Hampton, Virginia. We lived in Bethel Manor, and so the first years of coming over here, to Virginia, I attended Tab High School for a while, but then he retired. We moved out of Bethel Manor and moved over Michael's Woods Drive, where they've been living like 30-something years, and I attended Bethel High School along with my middle brother Gary, my sister Tracy, and my youngest brother Paul. So graduated from Bethel and went on to play college ball, University of Richmond. Was at Richmond for 4 years and had a chance to sign a contract with the Dallas Cowboys. So the NFL is the NFL, but for me, NFL stood for not for long because I had an injury and just things didn't work out. So became a police officer, worked at a Boys and Girls Club, and then finally kind of maybe found my calling in coaching college football. And so I started that path and have been doing it ever since.
Okay, let me take you back for a minute. Now, you said you grew up in the Bethel area.
Right.
Did you participate in athletics as a youth?
In the Northampton Little Leagues, Rec Leagues, the interesting thing is my dad was always involved in the community aspects of it. So basketball, baseball, all those things. Tucker Caps, went there, and so kind of growing up in an athletic family that that growing up with guys who later on became best friends, guys who later on became college friends, guys who later on became lifelong friends. So it's just amazing. Everybody talks about the places I've been. 757. What's so good about 757? It's hard to describe unless you've been there, unless you've been around in the culture and the community of people that are here. So like I said, my parents have been living the same place for over 30 years now, and every time as a head coach, I've always had an affinity and a liking and a love for players back down in this area in the 7-5, because I know the people, the coaches, and the communities in which they come from. So I'm always going to be slanted towards an area that I know the good people, good players come out of.
Right. Going planted toward coming back home. That I understand that. What year did you start at Bethel?
I started Bethel. I was a couple years at Tab High School, and then the end of my junior year, I was my dad was retiring. He said, "Listen, Dennis Kozlowski is a football coach over at Bethel." And Kaz was like, I want you to come to Bethel High School, and I'll make you great, and spit in your face and stuff like that. Everybody knows how Kaz would talk at you, And so he said, I played quarterback at Tab, and then he's like, you come and play quarterback for me. So I go to Bethel. Not only do I not play quarterback, I played tight end, and I was a linebacker. So it's like, yes, because Kaz got me on that one. But anyway. He and it was a great experience. I played with Sean Gale was on the team. Frank Brown. Eddie Williams. All those guys. In and around that time was kind of like a great time. So I graduated. In 1979. From Bethel, and moved on and went on to University of Richmond from there.
Okay. What did you play? What position did you play at Richmond?
Now, I was a defensive back at Richmond, so I come out of high school as a tight end and a linebacker.
Right.
And matter of fact, Sean Gale used to call me, started this nickname that I was mad of, to this day. He used to call me Fat Boy because I was because I was a linebacker and tight end. But when I went to Richmond, I was recruited as a corner because I was a corner size guy, and so that's what I played at Richmond for 4 years, corner, safety, and then that's what I was a free agent with the Cowboys for as a corner.
Well, you know, I got a bit of a love for you, my brother, because I'm a Cowboys fan. I've been a Cowboys fan since the early '60s,
Yeah.
and I really like that. But tell us a little bit more about. I keep wanting to go back to high school because, you know, of course, you know, this is a Bethel High School mega reunion, and the whole thesis behind this reunion is success through unity. And we want to expound on how the players, how Bethel students became unified by realizing that they had to participate together in sports to be successful. Can you tell us anything about your successes working with a team at Bethel, how you learned camaraderie and things of that nature?
You know, all of us stand on the shoulders of people that have helped us along the way. And Bob Heinsohn was a basketball coach back then when I was playing. Coach here was Coach Cause. You know, and it's one of those things that the community of guys, we're always proud of our community. You know, being proud of where you come from. And you know, it used to be times when, you know, that also grades mattered and stuff like that. Right. That you couldn't walk by one person's house knowing that they were messing up, because then that parent would say, "Listen, you better straighten up. You know, I'll come down there and and visit with you." And so there was a community of pride. And so when you grew up, you played within the community. You didn't get in the car and go drive somewhere else. You played within the community you were from, and there was a sense of brotherhood. You know that was something I think sometimes missing, because people gravitate towards different things when family and home and all those things like that became the most important things for us. So the unity part, as you said, is part of a culture that's created, that even when my brother Gary, Tracy, and Paul went through, it got stronger and stronger, and hopefully, you know, that the communities that surround Bethel now, you see another school that's not right next door to Bethel. You see, you know, some kids going different places, magnet schools appearing. Hopefully the communities are still staying strong, because I think it was in the college level now, I see a different kind of kid coming out of high school coming to college that's disconnected from the community and family, and more identifying with social media and technology and things like that.
Well, it's our goal, Mike, to help the students at Bethel. I don't know if you've looked at it in the players at Bethel. Have you seen anything at Bethel that could possibly be a prospect?
Well, to be quite honest with you, the current coach, William Beverly, his son is on our team at Howard right now, and also another young man, Zuri Godfrey, is on our team, and so they're from Bethel. So there's a lineage, there's a legacy, you know, that still, you know, that draws the relationships. You know, Coach Beverly went to school at Bethel as well, and so, but you know, there's a lot of things going on that, you know, we want to make sure that the players from around this area, and again, Bethel High School, my school, those players come, have some success in the classroom, on the field, and in the community. So, you know, we want Bethel to always be in the forefront of talking about playing in the playoffs and winning championships and things like that. So we want to see that. We want to get back and hopefully they, you know, get back to those winning ways that we've had in the past.
I got so many questions, but I know we don't have the time. But I want to ask you, if you had anything to tell a young player at Bethel right now, any piece of advice you want to give him, what would you say to him? If I was a young man coming to you right now as a coach, you know, I'm 18 years old, I'm 17 years old, excuse me, I'm playing football, and I'd like to go play college football. What advice would you give me?
You know, probably over the years, having been a head coach at 3 different universities now, one of the things I always talk about is the value of a person's of an education. And as I mentioned before, we talked about NFL also stands not for long. The percentage of high school players that play in the NFL is less than 1%. So you talk about less than 1% of every high school that's in the country. That's how many players are playing in the NFL. So And I you know, I know it's a one thing I tell them, but the other thing is, don't have your identity built up on who you are as an athlete, because you're gonna have to put the ball down or basketball down or that's gonna fade. And what happens, what I see is people build their identity and who they are around if they can shoot a basket, if they can throw a football. Because when that skill leaves, then all of a sudden that's all they have. That's all they associate themselves with. Instead of becoming you know, a student, a better son or husband, father, uncle, whatever it is, because you're going to be an employee, an employer, own a business much longer than you're going to be an athlete. And so, you know, in athletics, you learn, you know, there's wins and there's losses, but in life, you learn there's wins and losses, and those things that we do every day are the things that sustain us. Because I just see so many people just, when their playing career is over, or they don't get a scholarship offer, or they don't make the grade, that all of a sudden they think they're worthless because now they can't play sports anymore. You'll be something else much longer than you'll be an athlete. So, as I said, don't let your identity be tied up into just being an athlete.
Well, so in other words, they need to work on their careers and work on their building themselves up as a person.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
I want to ask a question about how did you get into the coaching end of athletics, and also you were head coach at one of the premier schools in the state of Virginia. How did that job come about?
Okay, so how I got into coaching, I was a police officer. So I got cut from the Cowboys and worked for the Boys and Girls Club of Richmond for a while. But I'd always wanted to be a police officer. You know, for whatever reason, I wanted to be a police officer. So shortly after I got cut from the Cowboys, I became a police officer in the city of Richmond. And to make a long story short, that, you know, after a few years, I became a police detective. And I was riding in South Richmond, and, you know, there was a call that went out that a Kentucky Fried Chicken store had just been robbed. And myself and a partner, lo and behold, on Hull Street, were sitting behind the description of the van that robbed the Kentucky Fried Chicken store. No other cars around. And, you know, no other marked units around either. So the van pulled off, and we followed the van, and ultimately end up pulling the van over. Get out of the van, guns drawn, badges drawn. You know, the van had kind of turned around and started facing the street to get out. And we pulled in facing them, get out of the car. You know, let me see your hands, police. And so I approached the driver's side, and the driver pressed on the accelerator, and the car started to fishtail. So, call it me being an idiot or whatever it is, I jump in the driver's side. I'm struggling with the steering wheel to gain control of the car, and the young man in the car pulls out a handgun and points it at my face and pulls the trigger, and I hear a click. So thank God, you know, it didn't go off. I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. But anyway, so as that process went on, and a trial date was set, they had gotten to the people at the Kentucky Fried Chicken store say, listen, we know where you live. So then they didn't want to testify. When they got away from me and my partner and drove off, but they got caught later on, about 5 minutes later, they had ditched the gun. So the people at Kentucky Fried Chicken store didn't want to testify because they were scared. Couldn't find the gun, so the original charge of the robbery was dropped. Couldn't find the gun, even though the trigger was pulled on me. The attempted capital murder of a police officer, that was dropped. So the only thing that they were convicted of was trying to run me over with the car.
Vehicular homicide.
Yeah, well, it was a misdemeanor though, because they tried to run me over because I jumped out of the way.
Right.
It was a misdemeanor.
Right.
And so that is the reason that I said, forget this. Forget this. That's the reason why I got out of being a police officer and got into coaching and became a restrictive earnings coach at the University of Richmond at the time. And so from that moment on, back in the latter part of the 80s, I started coaching college football, and then went on from there.
You know, that's ironic because I got married in Richmond, and I got a daughter in Richmond. I lived in Richmond for like 12 years, down on the west end, down by Parham Road and all that area down there.
I know where it's at.
And I didn't know you were down there. I also did not know that you came out 4 years after me. I thought you was a much younger man. You know, I mean,
Well, yeah, you know,
I did. I thought you was a much younger. I didn't put it together, but you know, I'm telling you, Mike. What I do want to say is that every time I've contacted you about this reunion, about helping us with the reunion, you have been very supportive, and I really appreciate that. It's good to know that you guys can go out there and make your careers, and don't forget about the people that you grew up with and where you started from. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
Do you have another question?
Yeah. Yes. How did you get the UVA?
So, you know, in the coaching journeys that you travel is I started the restricted burnings job at Richmond. I left and went to William and Mary, then went back to Richmond, and from Richmond I left and went to Boston College with Tom O'Brien, who was a longtime assistant at Virginia. In fact, recruited the Tidewater area, Bethel, Hampton, you know, across the way. So Tom was the head coach at Boston College. So I went there for 5 years, and then you know I guess I like to be able to tell this story. So I was at BC, and we had just finished playing in a bowl game, and my daughter Tyson got sick and couldn't figure out what was going on with her and stuff, and took her to the doctors of the Children's Hospital in Boston, and they said that she had a rare blood disorder called Fanconi anemia, which is your body's inability to produce white blood cells to fight off infections.
Right. And
the only cure is a bone marrow transplant. So here I am, a young parent, like, all right, what's one of those? Let's go ahead and get one of those. The sad part of this is that, you know, that when it comes to matches for the African American community, we don't find as many matches. And the sad part is sometimes we don't get involved and engaged in doing things, giving blood, or joining a bone marrow registry to be a potential donor. So I did that, you know, we did that for a while, and I was going to leave Boston College to come to the University of Virginia. Al Groh was with the Jets, and he was coming back to Virginia to be the head coach there. And I'm from, you know, Hampton. My mom's from Newport News. And so one of the reasons why I came back to Virginia to join the staff is because the hospital at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, is a world-renowned hospital that does bone marrow transplants. So we're coming back home and trying to, you know, join the National Bone Marrow Registry, trying to find a donor. Can't find a donor, and time is ticking. And so finally, you know, the doctor says, you know what, let's try you, Mr. London, but the odds that a parent could be a match for their own child, I mean, they were using numbers like 10,000 to 1, miracle, 1,000,000 to 1. And so I said, all right, let's try me. So, I mean, I'll never forget it. I mean, one day in the doctor's office, he says, Mr. London, you're the match. And
ain't God good?
That's you know.
Right.
So he said, you're the match. And I'm like, okay, all right. You know, it hasn't done, when I talk about it, it's one of those things that people don't understand until you are involved in something, or something happens to a family member, or you got boots on the ground and you're in this situation. Sometimes people look on the outside in like, oh man, I feel for you. I hope, you know, things turn out. But when you're in it, you can't describe it. And I know there's people that are out there that have family members that have left this world because of cancer, leukemia, or whatever it is. But when someone says you're the match for your daughter, it's hard to fathom. So anyway, we do the bone marrow transplant at Johns Hopkins Hospital. And that's 14 years ago. My daughter's a senior at Old Dominion University, is going to be graduating. And so, you know, this journey about, I know you asked about a football question, but the journey about the football part of it has taken me into other paths where then life hits you in the face, whatever you're doing.
That's right.
You know, what you guys do, life hits you in the face sometimes, and you gotta stare at it, look at it, and say, all right, what are we gonna do? So when you talk, so coming to Virginia and being involved in Virginia, Coach Grove's a coach, and my alma mater, University of Richmond, has after working a couple of years, it has a job open to be the head coach. So I go to my alma mater. I'm like, I went to school here, and I get interviewed and they're like, well, you've never been a head coach and you've never been a defensive coordinator. And so I didn't get the job, Same person, didn't get the job. So I go back to Virginia, stay one more year, and I leave Virginia to go to the Houston Texans in the NFL. I coached the defensive line with Dom Capers in the NFL. After that season, Al Golden was on the staff with Coach Groh, and Al Golden had left Virginia as a defensive coordinator and went to Temple before he went to Miami. So this is kind of how God has a plan and purpose for a lot of things. So I went to the NFL, spent a year there. Al Golden left, went to Temple. Coach Groh called me and said, can you come back and be the defensive coordinator? So I left the NFL, came back to Virginia, was the defensive coordinator for 2 years. And then the head job at Richmond came open again. So now I come back to interview for the job, and it wasn't an interview. It was like I checked off all the boxes that they said that I needed to check off for their stakeholders to say, we're going to co-sign on you. So it's just amazing how the life's twists and turns take you to places. You're disappointed for a moment, but then you're taken to another place that allows you to check the box off so you can come back to the place that, that you thought you should have been in, from the jump street. Maybe I wasn't ready. And I had to go through those experiences to come back. But came back as a head coach at Richmond. That's where we won the national championship here. Stayed there for 2 years. And then the job at Virginia came open. And I left because I'd been the coordinator there. I'd been an assistant there. I left and left Richmond, my alma mater, and went to Virginia and was there for 6 years. So it's kind of crazy how life's twists and turns take you for you might say for setups or setbacks, but sometimes it's for a setup to allow you to move forward and do things that perhaps you might not have been ready for. So it's just kind of crazy how life goes sometimes. And Virginia ended up being there 6 years. 2011, the ACC Coach of the Year. I mean, with Dabo Swinney and Frank Beamer and Jimbo Fisher and all those guys. We live in a culture that, they count wins and losses, and I get it. And then when you're in a profession, in sports particularly, you're probably gonna get fired before it's all over. Right. Nobody stays in a job forever.
Right.
And so, but the experiences at Virginia were great. I had a chance to move on to the University of Maryland as the associate head coach and coach the defensive line and get back, take a step from being a head coach and being a better assistant. So the next opportunity that came, maybe I'd be a better head coach. And then that opportunity came the following year, and it came to Howard. And so my son's on the staff. There's coaches that I know on the staff. Yeah, my son's on the staff. And I got coaches that coach with me at Richmond and at Virginia, people that I know, that I trust, that I love on the staff at Howard. And so, so that's the journey, and it's like, three opportunities to be a head coach at different places, FCS Richmond, FBS, at Virginia, and now at an HBCU, FCS Howard. So really excited about that, the opportunities. Had a great season this year, and look forward to another season at Howard this year.
Okay.
Never you ready.
I'm Charles Dobson.
Look at me.
Charles Dobson, Bethel High School class of 1971.
I'm gonna do it one more time just for the.
Okay.
About my
My name is Charles Dobson. I'm in the Bethel High School class of 1971.
Hello, Charles. We want to thank you for coming today
Thank you for having me.
for the mega reunion. Want to discuss a little bit about your history at Bethel, but even before Bethel, what community did you grow up in?
I'm from Aberdeen, North Aberdeen actually, Walker Road area, right across from Old Town, or Old Aberdeen, which is right across the street. That's East Aberdeen, I think it is. Not East Aberdeen, North Aberdeen.
Okay. Did you attend elementary school?
I went to Booker T Elementary in Newport News, Virginia.
Why there, living in Aberdeen?
My mother was a second grade teacher there, and most of the teachers who were employed in the Newport News school system lived in the Aberdeen area.
Okay.
And as a result, I went to school there.
Now, during your living in Aberdeen, we all know about the athletic Aberdeen dean ball sports. Did you participate in any of the athletics during?
No, I didn't. I learned to play football right in the rock streets of North Walker Road. That was before they asphalt the streets. The streets were laid out with gravel rocks, and it was like that until I guess the early '60s.
So during that period of time, you were in elementary school. Did you happen to gravitate toward one sport versus the other?
I liked football. One of our favorite things to do was to play alley-oop. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where you throw the ball high and run under it and catch it. That's how I gravitated to being a wide receiver in high school, and I guess it probably helped with my speed as well.
Did anybody or parent or let's say a coach recognize your skill and help develop it at that age?
There was a gentleman who was an older guy in our neighborhood named Sturdivant. He's the uncle of John Sturdivant. David Sturdivant is his name, to think about it. And David took an interest in all of the guys in the community to teach us athletics, boxing, anything sports related and group related, he used to help us out with.
Now, after you left elementary school, where'd you go to junior high school?
Jeff Davis Junior High.
Jeff Davis Junior High. Now tell us about that experience.
The initial time there was not too comfortable because we were the first group of kids to integrate Hampton City school system. So there were some rough patches, but athletics really helped to bring a lot of the kids together because unbeknownst to a lot of people, we had one of the top teams in the city when it came to playing football. We went undefeated, unscored upon, nobody even got close to tying us. And we played a 6-game schedule, and we went 6-0.
What do you think attributed to having such a fantastic season?
Probably the familiarity of a lot of guys from the community. There were guys, it was heavily staffed or heavily weighted with guys from the Aberdeen area. A lot of guys that have passed on, but I do remember that most of the team, about half of the team was from Aberdeen.
What about the coaching staff? Was it integrated?
It was an integrated coaching staff. Coach Walters, I remember. Perk Crane, I think, was a coach at the time. Can't remember any other coaches. Joe Hawkins, yes, that's correct.
Now, is there anything, lessons learned during that period that you think developed you into a better athlete?
Well, I think one thing that I think about a lot is the fact that even though we were a school named after a Confederate president, we took ownership of not only being proud to be at that school, but we also were not afraid to wear those Confederate colors. When you own it, can't nobody take it away from you. It's kind of my motto. And at that time, we owned the fact that we had one of the best bands in the city. We had the best football team in the city. We didn't have, I don't remember how the basketball team did, but because I didn't play basketball I think I played my freshman year my first year at
So did you know knowing the history, you knew the history going in.
Knew the history
of the
going
name, and you felt comfortable with the history going in, or how did you had any repercussions or things of that nature?
No, not in the community, but I mean, what was our choice? You know what I mean? We had 1 or 2 buses coming from Aberdeen over to Jeff Davis, and I remember the school buses would line up, and we had our 2 buses, or one. Actually, I think it was 1 bus, one at a time. So. It was what it was, you know, what were we gonna do about it? But take ownership of it, you know, and when they posted a picture in the Daily Press, they didn't say these gentlemen from Aberdeen or these gentlemen from here. It was the Jeff Davis Junior High School football team, and it was. Anybody who read the paper were well aware of what that was comprised of.
Okay, so let's move on to Bethel, Bethel High School. What sports did you participate at Bethel?
Played football my freshman, my sophomore and junior year, and I ran track the whole time I was there.
Okay. So which one did you favor? Did you think you?
I favored football, but I became a little disillusioned about the direction of the team. When most of us did, we played both ways. We could see what was coming, and I was not in a position to do anything other than do as the plays were called. But it was very frustrating for me, so I didn't play my senior year.
What did you do? You said ran track?
Ran track.
So tell us about your track career.
It was successful. You run up to the level of the competition that you face with, and the man at the time was Doug Dickerson. And so my focus was to become better than him in the events that we ran up against each other in.
What was your specialty?
I was a sprinter, 100 and 200, and relays. But my senior year, I decided that I wanted something more of a challenge, so I taught myself to run hurdles. My senior year, I won the state in the hurdles, and I think it was because of the challenge of running hurdles. You know, there was something that required a certain amount of technical finesse as well as
Who taught you the techniques of
nobody?
So you're self-taught.
Yeah.
So who did you model your technique at? Was there anyone in particular?
Nobody. I just did the necessary research that was available at the time. Unlike today, we didn't have smartphones and things like that. But there were publications called Track and Field News. There were training manuals that were available. I actually went over to Hampton University and found some training material on how to run hurdles.
That's phenomenal. Self-taught
Yes.
track star makes state championship.
That's how it worked out.
So you saw your name in the paper. What was the feeling when you saw your name?
Sense of accomplishment. I mean, I did it. It was like, well, I tried it and I did it and I did well at it. But it's something to be said about coaching, and one thing that we all were blessed about was to have a man like Dennis Kozlowski who devoted his time to mentor us the best that he could. Because Lord knows that man has touched the lives of many people coming through the Bethel Athletic Program.
Yes.
Many people.
So from Bethel, tell us about what you, your career, or what did you do post high school?
Went to the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Did you go on scholarship?
I went on an athletic scholarship.
So were you the first African American?
No,
on the
actually,
team?
no, I wasn't.
Okay.
I came in with a group of guys on scholarship as well. Reggie Clark from Denby, John Jones from Portsmouth, young man out of Massachusetts called Les Rice. We were all minority brothers.
Okay.
There was a young man from a little town called Alta Vista, Virginia. Al, his last name slipped me right now, but was a high jumper, 7-foot high jumper. So we had the nucleus of a pretty good team. We actually, when we were there, we basically ran the Southern Conference. We won just about every Southern Conference title for those 4 years we were there.
Any sights on the Olympics at the time?
The 72 Olympics, I think, was a boycott Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. The next Olympics would have been the 76 Olympics, and I was trying to make a way in the world at that time. And one thing that, in thinking back on it, I wish we were born in a time when we could have been professional athletes. That would have been a whole different story. You know, if you can do the thing you love and get paid doing it, it's just nothing better than that.
Okay. So after William and Mary, you continued your education from there? Or?
No, I went to North Carolina and worked in retail because it was a job I could pick up quickly. And eventually, it occurred to me I wanted to get into finance, so I tried my best to get into commercial banking, but here in Virginia that was pretty hard to do.
89. But you also had, you played athletics at an early age, right?
Yes, sir.
Where did you play at?
I played at Aberdeen, I played in Northampton, and then I went to Bethel JV. I was in the 8th grade.
What year was that, do you remember?
I do not remember.
That's okay. Tell us a little about your experience at Bethel.
It's a wonderful experience. I enjoyed everybody. Everybody was, it was more of a family thing. Just enjoyed one another. Everything, the teachers were fine, the athletics were great, the coaches were wonderful. I had many coaches that really inspired me, taught me how to work, what to do, never quit, never ever quit. So I think a lot of my success is due to the football team. We learned a lot of togetherness. Coaches told us never quit, and they instilled that in us. So I carried that on in my work life.
Now, I remember you coaching. I remember you playing and coaching in Aberdeen. I remember there were times when you would work and come straight to practice and stuff like that, you know, work ethic. I remember that very well.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your what you learned at Aberdeen when you was at Aberdeen. Playing.
Playing, again, athletics, football in particular, is very important. I think every child should play football. With the right coaching and the right team, you'll learn so much about life. You can't walk this earth and you can't work all by yourself. It takes teamwork and hard work. And athletics instills that into you.
Who are some of the coaches you really know?
Bernie West, I think he was one of my favorites, if not my favorite. He was short like me, played the same position, and he pushed me. So, and I later was excited about it because I later coached with him at Aberdeen. So, Bouchard, Coach Oliver, all of them, Coach Cars, Barlow, I remember all of them, and all of them had something to give. Some were harder, some were nicer, and you got to realize 17-year-old boy looks like a man, but he still has a boy like mine. And sometimes we take that athletics too seriously. But a lot of the coaches, Bernie, even though they worked you hard, they made you laugh. They let you know it was still good to laugh.
Did you play college ball?
Never did. I went right into the work.
Well, tell me a little about your work.
I started out at Miller Meats in the grinding department. I was making $3 or $4.25 an hour. For 40 hours a week, that was good money to me. 19 years old. I could go to the movies. I could have an apartment with 2 roommates, have a runaround car. What more could a 19-year-old want? I was happy with that. A lot of my friends in school broke. I had money in my pocket. I didn't know that was a lot of money. But then I became an area supervisor. And then I became plant manager. Then I became vice president. And then the owners of the business decided to separate. There was 2 owners. And they separated and they were selling the business. So I said I wanted it. And you have to go after your dreams. So I went after my dreams, and it didn't matter what anybody said. You can't worry about what people say. You can't worry about people telling you no, because you can do it. The Word of God says you can do it. So I'm a Christian, and I believe that you can do anything. Anything is possible, but you can't have no doubt in your mind. So it doesn't matter what anybody says at all. If it's what you want and what God says you can have it. You just don't say, you don't take no. And that's what I believe, so I continue to do it. I had to go through an SBA loan. They had stacks of paperwork. I believe they tried for you not to get it, but they couldn't deny me because God was on my side.
So today, you said, where you at today?
Today, we have a location on 35th Street in Newport News. That's Miller Meats. We service the military. That's the main bread and butter. I opened up Uncle Nick's Premium Meats on Jefferson Avenue, 6139 Jefferson Avenue, and 1900 George Washington Memorial Highway in Yorktown. I opened these up because I believe the community deserves to have something back, and I believe everybody should eat like a king or a queen, so we keep our prices affordable because we need to take care of one another. I'm also about to open up a restaurant down the street, Papa Bluey's, in honor of my father.
Okay. How many people do you employ?
23.
And since you become owner, have you hired any more?
We started out with 13 employees. I created 10 new jobs, and actually trying to create at least 5 more jobs for the community. Instead of not taking care of the community, I'm giving back.
Right.
I'm trying to create jobs so young men and women can be off the streets and have something. They see that I started out making $4.25, and if I put in that hard work, they can too. I tell them all the time about dreams. I tell them all the time, do not let your dreams die. You cannot. A lot of us, when we have children, we let our dreams die. Get married, we let our dreams die. die. But you can be married and have children and never let your dreams die. I got this business when I was 45 years old. That's never too late. I got this business because I want to leave my children an inheritance. I want to give them something. I want them to have something. I want to have a legacy. That right there is my aunt's name. She passed away 2 years ago. That's in honor of her. She has a legacy. She's on this wall. People come in here every single day and see her name. Children play in this little area. So she's honored. The one on George Washington Memorial Highway has my mother up there, and it's up there in memory of my mother. Again, I told you the restaurant is for my father. We need to take care of one another, and we need to remember the ones that have gone away. We have on the wall, my family on the wall, all of them was in the military, and we honor those people because we love them. I believe we're supposed to take care of them.
Well, you know what? As a matter of fact, today I noticed that you're cooking out in the parking lot. You're giving the food away.
Yes.
You got people from the community coming up and,
Yes.
and enjoying it, and eating free.
Yes.
Tell us a little about that.
I was giving and will be giving back to you. Pressed down, shaking together. Plain and simple. You got to believe in what you believe. If you do not believe, then it's not going to happen. The Word of God said I can move mountains. I actually believe that. Why can't we? We do this for the community because the community needs it. The community needs to know that businesses care for them, businesses love them, businesses appreciate them. We also, on our wall over here, we have Customer of the Month. Not Employee of the Month. We have Customer of the Month. And that's because we want to show appreciation to people coming in. We thank them for coming in. They do not have to come here, but they do. And we come in here because we treat them like they should be treated.
You said something to me yesterday about if you sold something for $1, or somebody else sold something for $1, and you sold it for $1.20, but you had great customer service skills. You said the person would rather come to you.
Yes.
That's a good ethic. Tell us a little bit something about that.
I believe customer service. If I sell a T-bone, they sell a T-bone in all the other stores. What makes us stand out? What makes us stand out is our customer service. We treat everybody like we want to be treated. Like everybody in here has been customers and had issues with customer service. We want you to feel at home. Sometimes customers come in and don't buy nothing, but they come to here. They come here and tell us about what's going on in their life, and we listen. The problem in the world is we don't listen to one another. All you have to do is open up your ears and listen to somebody, and that makes them feel important to come back. So we just want to make them feel well, feel welcome.
Well, if there's anything that you would like to share with the kids coming up, success story or anything, any kind of words of wisdom you want to impart to them, what would it be?
Dream and never give up on your dreams. It does not matter what anybody says. Listen to your parents. Listen to them. You might not understand, but hear what they're saying. You need to open up your ears, bottom line, and never stop dreaming.
Okay, that's great. Is there anything you want to say to the Mega Reunion group or about our reunion coming up?
Just to let you know, I support this, and I'm a diamond supporter. I really believe in this. Bethel is an unusual group of people. We all love one another, and you can see it from 60 to 30. We all get along. It's just an amazing school. I don't know what else to tell you, but if you look on Facebook, there's people from all ages, and we get along, and it's joyous. I don't know what they do in the other schools, but I can tell you, Bethel is a great school, great people. Bottom line.
Hi, my name is Janae Bachelor. I graduated Bethel High in 2002. I am part of the Bethel High School Mega Reunion Committee as a content information specialist, social media. I'm the daughter of the late Lynn Bachelor. That's how I got introduced to the group. My dad was part of the group for the last reunion. And so this is my first reunion. I'm looking at following his footsteps. I am so excited and happy to work with everyone. And I feel like I've known everyone here most of my life. So I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to the reunion, and whatever I can do, I'm gonna do it. See you there.
Hello, I'm Bernie West, class of 1977 at Bethel High School. I'm here working with the Omega Committee, and I'm Director of Alumni Athletic Management. And we are working very hard to make this an occasion that you will enjoy. This is my first time with this committee. I attended the last Omega reunion. It was such a success, and when I was asked to be a part of this, I was so thrilled, and like I said, I'm very honored to be here, and hopefully you will have a good time and enjoy it, and very memorable.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Miles Scott. I'm a 1975 graduate of the Bethel High School. Held to thee, O Bethel High School, songs of praise we shall sing. And I am truly excited to be a part of this committee. My responsibility is to be the coordinator of the media artifacts. So those of you who have things from years past, we certainly invite you to bring those to us. I am looking forward to this reunion. I know it's going to be even better.
Okay, folks, so there you have it. These are the worker bees, I like to call them, who help put this thing together. As you can see, it's very few of us, but each one of us has an integral part of putting this thing together. It's hard work, no doubt. It's hard work, and I want to thank Shelton and Norma and Charlene and Janae and Bernie and Cheryl and Sim, because these people are working really hard to put this together for y'all. Keep in mind that, and also who's not, a person who's not here, thanks Shelton, we got to mention our workhorse, Debbie Rose. A lot of you out there may have gotten emails or something from Debbie Rose, or gotten an email and you didn't know who it was coming from. I can let you know right now that it came from our workhorse, Debbie Rose. We love Debbie Rose, right folks?
Yes,
We love Debbie Rose, and she's doing a hard job. So what we want you to do is that you got to get your payments, and you got to reserve your seat for your 3-day VIP pass. That covers Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can get your pass by mailing your payment to 1 BHMRG, which is Bethel High School Mega Reunion Group, 110 Coliseum Crossing, PMB 200, Hampton, Virginia, zip code 23666, or visit us at our website at bhsmegareunion.com. There you can order your tickets, you can reserve your room, you can click on our news and find out information and updates of what's going on. So folks, I'm telling you, this is going to be an epic and historical event. This is Bethel's 50th year anniversary. 50 years that our school has been open. 50 years of history, 50 years of success through unity. And we want you all to be a part of it. So don't miss out. Get your tickets today, reserve your seats today. And thank you for taking time to watch this video.
Hello, my name is Charlene Mason, and I am the Director of Sponsorship and Ads for the Bethel High School Mega Reunion Committee.
My name is Jerry Holmes. I graduated from Bethel High School in 1976.
1976. Jerry, where you from?
Actually, I'm originally from Aberdeen in Hampton, Virginia. But my mom and dad grew up in North Carolina, then they moved to Virginia, to this Tidewater area.
Y'all moved straight to Aberdeen?
Yes.
Okay. What year was that, you know?
No.
You weren't.
I blame that on my concussion, so
Okay.
I don't remember that.
All right, okay. Growing up in Aberdeen, how was that?
Oh, that was, it was a great feeling. Something like you mentioned earlier, everybody was my mom. You know, I had family everywhere I went. They wanted to see you do good and do what was right. And I kind of appreciate that now more than anything else.
Right. Did you participate in any athletics growing up down in Aberdeen?
Yes, I played football, Little League at Aberdeen, and for Mr. Curry, and you know, still a good friend of mine. I still drive through the area sometimes and see some of his family also.
So you played, well, Mr. Curry was the coach at Aberdeen, football coach at Aberdeen?
Yes, he was my coach, yes.
Okay, was Mr. Moore then?
Excuse me?
Mr. Moore. Coach
Yep,
Moore.
Mr. Moore. Yeah, I was just talking about my position coach.
Oh, okay. How was that? How was playing ball at Aberdeen?
It was great because I'm playing with my friends, and we used to play in the backyards and you know, the practice field over at Aberdeen and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I remember that myself.
What did the coaches instill in you that you think carried you on to your professional life?
Well, it was just one of those things like everything. I'll just tell you a quick story about when you see Jerry Holmes, you don't see me. You see the whole neighborhood of Aberdeen, all the good people that live in Aberdeen, the parents, the players, the school systems and all that good stuff. And that's what I really respect about Aberdeen.
Well, from there you went on to Thomas Eaton.
Yes, went to Thomas Eaton there, and they kind of like split the street right in half. You go onto that side of the street, you went to Jefferson Davis, you on this side, you go to Thomas Eaton. Yeah. And then my brothers, I got, let's see, 2 older brothers that played ahead of me and that kind of stuff. So they kind of were my mentor, along with my dad, kind of teaching me the right things to do, football, in life, in school, and all that other good stuff.
What position you played at Eaton?
Honestly, I played, I'm going to say, defensive back. That's what I'm thinking.
And then from Eaton to Bethel.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about your Bethel career.
Bethel career was great because a lot of my other friends went to different schools and different junior high schools. But at Bethel, when we went to Bethel, we had a chance to play together again like we did at Aberdeen and all that good stuff. And playing at Bethel, had a chance that my brothers had played there also ahead of me. So they knew all of the new coaches, Coach Kozlowski and all those guys they knew. So it made it real easy for me. Are you Robert Holmes, brother? Are you Ernest Holmes, brother? Are you George T, brother? Lucille? They named all my family members and all that stuff was good. But it took a long time because it's 10 of us.
Okay. Jerry, you played for Bethel. What year did you start Bethel? It was like 73, something like that?
Yeah, around 73
Okay.
years.
During that time in 73, did you experience any kind of problems with the other kids playing on the team? Was it pretty much cohesive team? Everybody had the camaraderie, attitude, and willing to play together.
Yes, because everywhere I went and with the coaches I spoke to, with Coach Kozlowski, he had coached my oldest brother when they played football. And Robert, my brother, was a trainer for every sport at Bethel High School, so I knew that all the coaches recognized me and that kind of stuff. So I had it real easy.
Okay, so you guys pretty much got along.
Yes.
So after high school, what did you do?
I was after I left Bethel, we didn't win a state championship my senior year, but leaving Bethel, it was just one of those things that I knew a couple of people at the different level at VMI, Virginia Tech, but nobody would give me a scholarship on these skinny legs, and I'm weighing about 155, 150, and that was, I wouldn't even expect that. So I decided to just go to Shawan, a junior college. Coach Garrison called me up with Coach Ferguson, one of his assistant coaches, asked me, well, I came down to see you play one Saturday. Could you come think about coming to Shawan? And I said, yes. But I didn't get a scholarship, so I definitely went to Shawan, and it worked out good with Coach Garrison and Coach Ferguson down at Shawana. It's a junior college.
Okay, I want to stop you right here for a moment because didn't y'all win the 76 state champion?
No.
We did.
77.
It was class of 77, but it was a 76.
Oh, right. Okay,
football
that's
season.
okay.
How was it playing on the first state championship team?
I mean, that was great because everybody, knew their responsibilities and all that good stuff, and just to have that opportunity to just be a part of a championship. Because growing up in Aberdeen, playing in Aberdeen, we didn't lose no game. We beat Mallory and all of them.
Except 1970.
And then we went over. I went to Eaton, same thing. We beat Jefferson Davis and all those schools. And then playing for Bethel on the JV team, we didn't lose probably none then. So it went like 3 years or so without even losing a football game.
Okay, let's jump ahead a little bit because I digress by asking you about the championship game. After college, what did you do?
After college, let's see, I got my degree in business administration from West Virginia University, and a couple of scouts and stuff had been visiting me during the course of the year when I was playing at West Virginia, but they didn't draft me, so they asked me could I come try out. So I tried out for the New York Jets, and one of the things that, I'm not bragging, but it kind of, the Lord is good.
Yeah.
The Jets in the NFL at that time would get probably about 125 guys, team players and that sort of thing on their team to start their season. And then one of the scouts told me, yeah, you was like 119. So I was like 119 player to make that on that New York Jets to have an opportunity to try play for the Jets. And at the end of the year, I played the whole year. I made the team and all that kind of good stuff. And now it became, I made it to at that time the NFL roster was probably about 50 players. So I made it at 50. When at 50.
How did that feel?
And I'm one of those guys that don't feel good to me, but it feels good that I had a chance to, all the people that helped me, coming from Aberdeen. I looked at all the people who helped me from Aberdeen that I learned football from, all the people at West Virginia and all that. My brothers and sisters helped me. My sister, all my sisters was older than I, so I took some whooping from them. But it's a great feeling to do that stuff and then put you in a position to be successful, not for Jerry Holmes, for the Holmes family. And that's where I look at things.
How long did you stay in the NFL and how many teams did you play for?
I say I had an opportunity to play 12 years in the NFL. I played three years with the Jets, and then all of a sudden Donald Trump and the New Jersey Generals came about. He asked me would I come over there, Pittsburgh Maulers and all that kind of stuff, a USFL team. So I had only made about $25,000 a year with the Jets and all that stuff, but those guys had all offered me more money, and I definitely went because they was offering me more money. I made more signing bonus money than I made in playing those 4 years with the Jets. And so now I look at TV and I love seeing Donald Trump get up there and say something crazy.
Yeah. So you've come full circle. So when did you retire from the NFL?
And let's see, I want to say 1993. That's what I'm thinking.
And what has your career been since then? What have you been doing?
I love coaching. I had a great opportunity to come back and coach at Hampton University. Coached in the NFL for about 6 years with some friends and buddies. And the thing is that a lot of guys that I coached for, I played with, they just saw me as a good player, discipline and all that good stuff. And then at first it was wondering how, I wonder could he teach our team this, my players and that. But I'm one of them coaches that I like nerds. Do what mom and dad tell them to do, coaches tell them to do, and do what's right. You know, and that's the whole thing that I do my philosophy in coaching with. And a lot of the coaches still call me today and ask me about, well, how you doing, Jerry, just to see how my family doing and that good stuff.
Jerry, one of the things that I saw that you did that I was really impressed with your ability to get back. I do know that you did give something to Aberdeen School.
Yes.
Tell us about that decision.
You know, it's just like when I said, I'm going to tell you this quick story real quick. I'm in California, and I had a cap on, and had A on the top of my head. And this white guy in the airport said, I know you're not from Aberdeen, the first black neighborhood built by black people, and still black people living. I said, yes. He said, I love that place. I love that place. So I was amazed at how the United States recognized the community of Aberdeen. So it's a special for me to have an opportunity to share this with whoever watching, because Aberdeen is something special. It's very special, and I'm thankful every day I wake up and get out of that bed. The Lord gave me an opportunity to grow up in Aberdeen with all the great moms and fathers all over the community. I really love that.
My name is Warner Gale, class of 1970, first graduating class of Bethel High School. Contrary to everybody's belief, I'm really not from Aberdeen. I moved here in '65. My father was in the Air Force. And we moved in Jonas Road on 8 Sheridan Place. But when I got here, all I heard was Aberdeen, Aberdeen, Aberdeen. And so everybody I knew was from Aberdeen, so they just adopted me and my brothers as being part of Aberdeen. When we moved here in '65, '66, I went to Jefferson Davis Junior High. And that's really where the integration started. It was tension. It was tension in the beginning. It was tension, and of course there were a few fights, but the bottom line, by the end of the school year, you know, everything started to mash together. And that was done on part, a lot of, because of the sports. Again, Aberdeen had athletes. Manny Mines, Charles Dobson, Arthur James, Alfred Paul. They had athletes. And, you know, me coming from Germany and getting with these guys, you know, and because we all played together, everybody just said, yeah, Gary, you from Aberdeen too. So it was tension. It was tension in those first years. But I can tell you, I never remembered a real serious fight. You know, I mean, it was just something we had to do. So, and then I graduated from Jefferson Davis and I went to Hampton. And at Hampton, the students at Hampton was kind of snooty to us, kind of, sort of, because, you know, we were 10th graders and we were from that side of Mercury Boulevard, and they were kind of snooty. But again, all of us came from Davis, played on Hampton's JV, and again, all the racial tension got mashed out throughout sports, because I would probably tell you the best team I ever played on was the Hampton JV in '69. We had, you name anybody from Hampton from the '69 to the '70 era, they played on that team. Bruce Massenberg, Harrison Baylor, Arthur James, Winfield Willis. I mean, stars. If we hadn't came to Bethel, Hampton would probably win the state championship 3 or 4 years in a row. But in my 10th grade year, they called us together. Coach Shute, Bowling Shute was the coach. And you know, we owe Coach Shute a lot because it was Coach Shute that went to the Virginia High School Athletic Association to bargain for us to play a varsity schedule because they wanted us to play JV. And it was Coach Shute that went up there before the state board and got us to be able to do that schedule. Good guy, good guy.
So that would be that 1970 team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that would have been the 69.
69.
Yeah, because we played 2 years and he was a good guy, good guy. And then when we got to Bethel, because we had been together from Davis and from Hampton, when we got to Bethel, it was just a sweet reunion. I really cannot ever remember having a racial tone fight at Bethel High School. The teachers were so strong. The teachers were strong. We had just our coaches, Mr. Gann, Coach Shackelford. These guys came from Phoenix High School, and then Bowling Shute. Our coaches were strong, but they went above and beyond. They didn't just care about us on the field. They made sure you got home if you didn't have a ride. They made sure you had lunch money if you didn't have no money to eat. And, I took all that in. I said, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be. We had phenomenal coaches. We did. We had talent. We had talent. We had talent. We did. Y'all talk to David. People, people say they don't know David Walters played football. I'm mystified. David Walters was running the best running backs on the peninsula, without a doubt. The boy was playing, he was playing with the big boys when we was little. He's in the 9th grade, he was playing with Phoenix. They were men back then, they were men, David not only a good athlete, a good person. We had a bunch of good people. We had a bunch of good people. And when you're in high school playing football, you don't really think about that stuff, like David said, we were in it to play the game. That's all that mattered to us. That's all that mattered to us. The first year, when we played Ferguson, nobody gave us a chance. Nobody. The only people that believed in us, and I really believe this, the reason we won those games because of the support of our parents and our coaches. Our first game, Aberdeen, it seemed like the whole city Aberdeen was at the game. So how can you not perform at a high level with that much support? And I really honestly believe that's what really took us over the hump a lot of times in our games.
Well, in 1970, we hear about this Huntington game, which is probably one of the most legendary games. Can you give us your version of what went on?
Well, what happened, we got to the game, and Huntington's, their football field was right behind the school. So we had to walk through their crowd to get to the football field. And you can hear, we gonna beat y'all butt. And everybody just looked at, but we had, again, a mash. We didn't see color. When the fighting broke out and we was in the field, it won't nobody running and leaving anybody. Everybody hung together. We had, hope I don't hurt anybody feeling, but we had some of the toughest white boys I've ever seen. Jack Storks. That was my guy. Jack would run through a brick wall. If he had, he'd run through 50 people just to make a tackle. He was, just tough. And we weren't scared. We weren't scared. Yes, we had to run. We were in the middle of the field and the coach said, go to the bus. Everybody ran to the bus. Yes, we had our fight our way through the crowd, but we went as a unit. Nobody got left behind. Nobody got left behind. Now, there was no buses turned over. We had some windows broken, but, you know, it really, you know, I mean, we just didn't care. All we wanted to do was win. We didn't care what the score was. We didn't care who scored the touchdown. All we wanted to do was win. And that was instilled by our coaches. Coach Shue, we had Coach Kozlowski came in his first year teaching, and he was off the chain. I'm just going to tell you, you know, he was my position coach. And the stuff that he taught me, the stuff that Coach Cobbs taught me, I could watch a football game and through the reads that he taught me just to see if I still got it, I could tell you where the ball is going. I mean, he was an innovator way before his time, way before his time. And, you know, he was, again, when I was home, I'm telling you, when I graduated from Belleville High School, I joined the Army, and I kept that attitude that he instilled in me. You the best thing out there. And until somebody proves it wrong, I'm the best thing out there. And I took that through 22 years of military. I retired from the Army. And then of all things, I became a JRTC high school teacher for 14 years. So, but I learned that from my coaches. Coach Gann, I'll tell you a quick story. One day, I missed the bus, and I was walking to school, had my shirt tail out, and Coach Gann pulled up and they said, Gail, get in this car. What you doing late for school? Your mom out here working, trying to make a living for you, and you out here being late, shirt tail out. You know there's little kids out there looking at you, watching you play. Hey, never again was I ever late. Never again did I ever have my shirt tail out. But that's how much they care about us. They not only wanted us to be good players, they wanted us to be good citizens. And so now I'm retired from the Army, I'm retired from the Louisiana State Teaching Association, and I live up in Ellicott City, Maryland, and every opportunity that I get, I come back. I love to come back and see Bethel games. They just don't have the hype that they used to, but I love to follow Bethel players. I follow Jerry, I follow Harrison Davis, I follow Sean, Jimmy, Mike Dunn. I mean, Bethel High School, I don't know where we stand in the record books, but it should be somewhere, because never before the school started in '68, and then in 6 years they would win the state championship in '74. That was the team that my brother was on. By the way, I think we could beat the '74 team. Just so you know, Jerry.
Well, wanted to mention a little bit about the Gale legacy, your siblings. How many of them played on the team, and do you think that you had an influence on them?
It was me, and then it was Marion. And the thing is, people think Sean and Jimmy are related to us. They are not related to us. Sean and Jimmy, their last name has a Y in it, and ours doesn't. But I met Jimmy about a year ago, and I said, Jimmy, do people come up and ask you if you my brother? He said, Warner, all the time. I said, what you tell him? I said, yeah. I said the same thing. I said, yeah. So, but Bethel always has a place in my heart. I learned a lot. I took a lot away. We had good teachers. We were just blessed. We were just blessed. We had good teachers. We were led in that first year by Mr. DJ Montague, who was the principal that came over from Phoenix High School. And he not only led, but he managed and he steered us the way that we need to go to be productive citizens. Good guy. Good guy.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you. Any more questions?
Yes, mega reunion.
Yes.
I went to the first one, and for those that didn't come, you really missed the treat. I've seen people that I haven't seen since I graduated from high school. And you know, I'm not a guy to shed tears, but when you actually just sit down and think about it, and you know, you see some of your best friends you haven't seen in 30 and 40 years, you know, that does a lot to you. So if you didn't come and you haven't planned to come, you need to come.
My name is Craig Williams. I graduated with the class of 1973 from Bethel High School.
Okay. Greg, I want to thank you for coming out with us today and giving us a little bit of time. Now, Craig, what did you grow up in?
I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Ironically, I moved here in 1970. Went to John Marshall High School there, and my father, ironically, ended up coming here 1970 with a job with the shipyard. It was a very racial infested time. As you can imagine, 1970 was right after all the civil rights movements in 1969, and came here to Bethel at that time. And but Richmond was most of my life. A very devastating thing to come here at 15 years of age, leaving all of my friends and coming here, but ended up working out in a big way.
What part of Richmond?
Came from North Side. Yeah, John Marshall. Most of the people who went to John Marshall were from North Side. But I grew up playing tennis, basketball, the whole ball of wax. My grandfather had a Baptist church, one of the largest Baptist churches in Richmond. So I grew up there with a fantastic family and support system.
Okay. What was your first sport that you participated in when you came down to Hampton?
When I came here, was very fortunate. I played basketball and I played tennis. Up in Richmond growing up, my first tennis coach was Arthur Ashe. Was one of the only brothers, in fact, the only brother that played on the tennis team in Bethel. And also basketball. I'm saying fortunate because I got connected when I came here with a brother by the name, I think you had him earlier, Tico Winder, who was, I think it was like the second day I had friends of the family that had introduced me and took him to him and another brother that was playing here in this area at the time, a brother by the name of Andre Brown. These two brothers coming off of what was segregated times to an integrated time. It was perfect for me to meet these brothers because it was at a time when the black schools here were closing, Carver and Huntington at that particular year. So I was very blessed to meet these brothers coming here.
Okay. Now, do you play sports at Bethel?
Yes, played basketball, tennis.
Okay. Now, particularly, I remember you playing basketball. I didn't know you played tennis. I always thought you and Tico was cousins too. So. But
everybody did.
Because you told everybody.
he told everybody.
Anyway, I remember your basketball career. Matter of fact, y'all two, I don't remember Bernard that much, but y'all two, I kind of looked up to y'all when I was growing up. Y'all was my heroes, you know, on the sports field, especially this guy over here, you. Because, you know, growing up, we were coming up behind y'all, you know, and I used to look at Tico, I was like, man, when I grew up, I want to be just like Tico. But I missed it by about 6 inches, you know, but I had a decent little basketball, I had a decent little basketball game. But I remember your basketball game. And I remember the many times that Bethel being in the crunch times, you remember? And Craig would get the ball, Get him on the Craig, get him on the Craig. Let Craig shoot. Tell us about your experience playing basketball with Bethel.
I was blessed, very blessed. Coming here, Bethel at the time had lost pretty much the ball handlers that they had. They really didn't have much to say, because Bethel hadn't been open that long, that many years. I grew up in Richmond. I played with a brother that played with the Celtics by the name of Gerald Henderson. We were in our 10th grade year and grew up handling the ball. So that was the main thing that I had, ball handling skills. Coming down here and connecting with Tico, who had tremendous shooting skills. We kind of worked with one another on those particular gifts and skill sets. But man, that was the thing that really inspired me, being able to play in games where we used to call our own shots. He and I think I'd never been coached by a white coach before. All my time growing up in Richmond, Virginia, had some of the best black coaches on record. You know, when I was playing in Richmond, we played against Moses Malone at the time at Petersburg High School, and coming down here, we pretty much had our run of the team. At Bethel High School, Coach Hentz was his first year, and he was kind of like learning at a learning curve spot. But Tico and I used to take over things, and at that particular time, so I really gained a lot of confidence and learned a lot of things having that opportunity to do my thing at Bethel.
So let me ask you one last question. Your experience at Bethel in the early years, how did you find the racial tension? Were you able to play with the guys, or play with the white guys, black guys, play together? What was the atmosphere?
Very different. From 69 to 70, I got here by 70. To explain to you the difference between 69 and 70. 69, I was my last year at John Marshall. Just integrated the schools. We used to fight every day, black against white. John Marshall had 3 floors, and we would be fighting on all 3 floors. I expected that when I got here to Bethel. And it happened to be, as someone mentioned earlier, a closed environment school, 1 floor. But hey, everybody got along. I mean, I did not understand how there was such a camaraderie. I mean, playing basketball, football, I don't even remember any fights really going on at Bethel High School between races. And that was like a joyous thing. And it allowed everyone to be freed up to do what they had to do, which was learn and get educated. But it was really a blessing coming to Bethel.
And you felt that there was a good male, a good mix between the students at Bethel?
Tremendous mix, tremendous mix. I mean, we have lifelong friendships. I know my friends, black and white, still today. People I went to high school with here, in Bethel. I'm still friends with them now. It's a tremendous blessing.
If you would have one message that you want to give to young kids in high school right now, what would you say to them?
Wow, it's very difficult to give one.
Give the best one then.
But one of the things that I really learned in coming from high school is to be true to oneself, to really learn and develop things about yourself so that you can learn who you really are, so that you can give as much as you can to the next person. But finding out who we are as individuals and people will help us in the collective. That's the thing that's missing in life. But Bethel was a good place to be.
Did you ever play pro ball?
No, I did not. No, I did not. I went to Tuskegee. Like Tico, in fact, Tico's coach recruited me after he got there. He took me under his wing, as I said, when I got here. And he went to Hutchinson Junior College, and his coach recruited me to Hutchinson. I ended up going out to Utah, to Eastern Utah Junior College and playing, and then playing and finishing up at Tuskegee Institute. So no, I didn't get that opportunity.
Well, is there anything you want to say to Bethel Mega Reunion Group for you?
Man, it's a blessing. I hope this is really the second of many more to come. This is what we needed, and I really want to thank this committee that has put this together. Seems like there are about 100 people putting this thing together, but I'm finding out it's not that many. This is a tremendous effort, and I'm glad that I'm a part of it. And I really want to thank for this opportunity